Hello, Fantasy League enjoyers. This will need to be a bit of a quicker video than usual because I'm recording this the night before the event starts. I actually didn't realize that the Katowice Challenger tournament would be part of the main season because most of the Challenger events aren't. And so I'm recording this super late, the night before. Actually, it's like 1 a.m. It starts in like 10 hours. So just to keep consistency, I thought I'd still make a video, even though I know it's super late. Apologies for that. First off, IEM Rio playoff results, though, was a disaster. A reality check after a hot streak of turn-ins of top 20s after top 20s. We've now hit the top 70, top 69% mark and been brought back to earth with a bang. The one thing I said would absolutely ruin my team has happened, and that is that Mouse beat Vitality, beat Furia, and went the distance. It was a kind of a coin flip choice. I was, going alongside Vitality by the slimmest of margins. It didn't turn out to be the right decision. It is what it is. These things happen. So I have now dropped back down to 7th position. It is super close, though, when you look at the fact that 3rd is Nero on 110, all the way to 10th, which is Banks on 98, and there's a bit of a gap between him and Note at 11th. So plenty to play for still. We just need to get back to consistent ways. Hopefully this is just a blip on the radar. And as you can see, here are the two groups. So Group A is Eternal Fire, Saw, Falcons, and Bait, and Group B, MIBR, Pain, Monty, and Legacy. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking one group definitely looks more stacked than the other. First off, you have 3 South American teams, Brazilian teams for the most part, in Group B, with Monty alongside them. And then in Group A, you have Eternal Fire, who have been really good as of late. Saw, they have high kind of ceilings, but they've now lost Arisdose for Agile, so that's a big blow to this team in my opinion. I'll have to see how Agile kind of fits into this team and how he meshes in and kind of if he can fill that void or not. They're very big shoes to fill. Then you have Falcons. There's quite a lot of hype behind them right now because obviously Simple is playing with them. He's already had his debut matches and they didn't go fantastically. And then you have Bait, who are hot off the back of a pretty decent performance at Elisa. I wouldn't say it was an amazing performance. They didn't make the finals, but they had a couple of good showings for themselves, and let's be honest, it was the first time they'd been at a LAN for most of those players, other than like NPL and Headtrick maybe. The rest of them had never been to LAN before, and so I think it was an okay performance overall. It's like a B-grade performance overall. So when I'm looking at these two groups, I'm just thinking the best of ones to kick off the first matches, especially it's going to be best of ones throughout, I believe, and so there's a lot of potential banana peels, and I'm looking at the teams that just for me have been consistent as of late, teams that I look at in terms of doing well, especially in Group B when it comes to domestic matches. And so I'll show you right now, spoiler warning, I've gone for some Pain players. When you look at their previous games, especially the ESL Challenger South America, you'll notice they have multiple victories over pretty close proximity against MIBR. So 3-1, 2-1, 16-14, 13-1, all in favor of Pain. Now, sure, you can sometimes learn more from a loss than a victory, but that's showing me that it's consistently they're beating out MIBR, they're getting W's when it counts, including some 13-1 stompings as well. That makes me feel pretty good about Pain's chances of topping this group, or at least doing really well. Alongside that, you have Monty, who are a little bit more of an unknown contingent. Of course, they have some very good players, you'll notice. For those of you who don't know, it's Hades and Dihaz team. After, obviously, they were removed from Ents. You have Key, DemQQ, and Krasnal. There's some very good players here, and they're kind of languishing around in this Tier 2 bracket with trading wins and losses against teams they probably should be beating quite comfortably. Like losing to Sinners there is a little bit of a blip. Losing to Spirit Academy, I mean, we know the crazy talent that's come through that team. 3D Max loss, who've been on a big upward trajectory. So they've been doing okay, but not really good enough for me to think, right, I'm going to back Monty fully here. So the team that I've gone for ultimately is going to be Eternal Fire and Pain. I've gone for 2 players on each team. I'm wanting to double stack both because I feel very good about their prospects of going through the groups here and potentially even topping the group. I thought about dipping down on Xantares. I'll show you here the cost. I was thinking of dipping down on Xantares and maybe double stacking with like Woxic and Wicardia, or going for Woxic and Major and then freeing myself up some more money. But Santaras has been so damn good as of late that I'm like, do you know what? Major's only 186,000. It's worth it for the two of them. So I've gone for Santaras and Major. Big Azera always seems to do pretty good for Pain. He's always up there as one of their better players. And Katowice, not one of their high fraggers, actually could bottom frag, maybe even get me minus points. It is a possibility. But at the same time, if you're dipping down onto Pain, you're looking for NQZ and Lux. They're both pretty expensive. 215 plus is pretty. It's going to cost you. You're definitely going to feel that later on in your picks with a couple of bronze sort of players. So Big Azera I thought was a little bit more consistent for me. It allows me to go into Koaz, and then we have Kai from Monty, who I think can still do pretty decently. When you look at his stats individually, he's got a 1.12 rating and costs 184k. And I actually think that Monty could squeak past in the second position in this group, just behind Pain. I could see Monty potentially going pretty well. Now, they've been up and down, as I mentioned before. D has still not quite recaptured that form that we saw in Ents, but you never quite know what to expect. So this is going to be my team. We've got multi-fragger on Zantaras, eco-friendly on Major, entry fragger on Big Azera, headshot machine, as Katowice does have a 64.8% headshot ratio, so I think that should get me some points. And then I've gone finally for support on Key with his 21.4%. And hopefully that's going to bag me some points, right? Like, it's a bit more of a gamble because I'm double stacking two teams as opposed to spreading the wealth a little bit more. But my one concern is, have Falcons managed to pick up the slack from their previous games? And I'll finish on this because a lot of people are going to be very hype about Falcons. One of the main talking points of this tournament is Simple's return. Can he get it done? At Thunderpick, he couldn't. Although he did have some big performances here and was trying desperately to carry his teammates, you'll see he had a couple of off games as well. So on Anubis, 0.64, and people are thinking, here we go again. You know, we've seen this before with Simple on Falcons. 6 frags on Anubis is pretty rough. So 1 out of his 4, 25% of a very small sample size, granted, he had just a straight up bad game. He performed much better when it came to Mirage, a 1.09, but you'll notice no one else is helping him out. And then when it came to, where's those other games at? Where are they? Yeah, when it came to the other games as well, he had a fantastic nuke performance. It was like old school Simple all over again. People getting some really good vibes, and no one else was really here though. And keep in mind, with 27 kills, a 1.72 with 125 ADR, his team still lost 39. So that's what's concerning for me about this Falcons team right now, boys. It is the fact that, can they get enough coherency and consistency in such a short time and plug in some of the gaps? Is Simple literally going to have to be a 1v9 bot, like basically just carrying everybody on his back, and no one else is really performing? Those are the things that I'm concerned about personally when I'm looking at this team, and what's kind of pushed me away from going for them, especially when you consider that Eternal Fire have been really looking good recently in this last few months. So I'm backing the Turkish guys again. I'm backing Pain, and then we've got a little bit of Monty in there as well at the end. I'll see you in the next video, guys. We'll see if I can bounce back from a very disappointing previous game. Catch you there.